Hello, everyone. I am Kara O'Loughlin, equine massage therapist, and I am here with.
I'm Chelsea Brooks, an equine behavior specialist.
And you are in the Tack Room with Kara and Chelsea. In the Tack Room, we talk about all things equine anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, and equine behavior. So if you have any questions for future episodes, make sure to comment in the section below. All right, Miss Chelsea, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
I
I
know.
know. I've been traveling, but I'm back now. So here we are. I hear today we're talking about the mind-body connection.
We are talking about the mind-body connection today. I feel, and I don't know if you feel the same way, that this is something we very much recognize in humans, something we very much recognize in each other,
Yes.
but not so much in our animals, whether that be dogs or horses or cats. And that connection is so particularly important in horses. So, as we know, the mind-body connection is a pretty strong one. And in people, when we're stressed, our shoulders get tight, stomachs get upset, so on and so forth. So, when it comes to horses, what do you feel the mind-body connection really means?
The mind-body connection is basically, as it says, the mind connected to the body connected to the mind. So when one is affected, the other one is affected. You can't have a calm mind without a calm body, and you can't have a calm body without a calm mind. And I think that that is true in us. It's true in horses. It's true in our pets. So when we talk about mind-body connection in horses, I think it's really important to look at it not only from a body standpoint, but also a training standpoint, a movement standpoint, way that we interact with them, and the way that we perceive their behavior, which is right up your alley, right? As an equine behavior specialist.
Yep.
The way that we think that they are, or the reasons why we think they're doing something or not doing something that we want them to do or don't want them to do, might not be the reasons that they are truly not doing that thing. So for us to really look at the mind and the body as one whole, and if one is affected, the other is affected.
Absolutely. Bringing up training, it's so funny because this happens a lot, right? Especially for me. They just won't do what I want them to do. And I'm like, okay, well, let's step back and think for a minute how amicable these horses, like these creatures are.
Yeah,
Because we'll get into the arena and the horse doesn't, I don't know, we'll say he doesn't want to track right for some reason.
yeah,
And the owner, the rider, whoever immediately says, see, they don't want to do what I want to do. And I'm like, but up until now, you've been able to catch them in the pasture. You've been able to tack them up without issue. You've been able to lead them into arena. You've put a bit in their mouth. You've tightened a girth. And so they are doing what you want them to do. So there is a good reason for not wanting to track right or whatever's going on.
hmm hmm
So,
hmm
and that is usually in the body, whether it's emotion, whether
hmm
it's physical, they're storing something.
yeah,
So I feel like people just really still struggle to believe that horses have that mind body link like we do. And I'm curious to know why you think that is. I feel like we've kind of been just conditioned to separate emotion and
yes.
training.
That's actually something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Is I think this is going to sound a little bit controversial, maybe. I don't know.
That's okay. We like that.
But I've been thinking a lot about, like, when we are young girls or boys and we are horse people and we fall in love with the horse, in our minds as those people, like, or maybe you're older and you haven't actually been exposed to horses until later in life. But wherever that moment is where you're like, oh, I love this animal. This animal is majestic. It's beautiful. I'm drawn to it. You don't go into it going, I know I really want to ride it, but I want to ride it in a way that, like, I have to kick it as hard as I can to go. And I have to, like, hold the reins really tight and I have to whip it sometimes to make it do what I want. But somehow we have to, as riders, most of us progress to a point where we end up doing those things. not that we want to, and some of us feel like, "Ooh, that feels icky to do that." Other times it's like, "Well, this gets the horse to do what I want to do." And, but there has to be for us to go from the point where I just, as a little girl or little guy, love this animal so much that I wanna ride it and I wanna fly through the wind with it, to progressing into the sport and then into, like, now it needs to do what I want it to do. We have to separate our emotions a little bit. You know, we're told like, "Oh, don't put human emotions on animals. Don't put human emotions on your horses." And for in some ways that is correct. But in some ways, I think it's okay to put your human emotions on them in terms of being compassionate and understanding. Um, but we have to justify a little bit of the training mechanisms that we have been taught through the years and through the decades and through the centuries that this is the way to train the horses. Um, so yeah, so to answer your question, like why do we separate it more? And I think we do separate it more than even with our dogs or cats.
Oh, yeah.
I think that because sometimes when people I would say if a horse lover, but not someone who has been exposed to horses, comes and watches some training barns, they would walk away with a not such good feeling.
Mhm.
And and not that we're doing anything that is, like, outright abusive even, but it's just that we have to keep ourselves safe, we have to get the horse to do what we want, so we have to, in our minds, separate emotion from that animal.
Yeah, that's so true. My youngest daughter, who is not heavily into horses, like, she doesn't really come to the barn, she doesn't, not like I am and my older daughter, we were watching the Olympics, and she kept saying, "Mom, that horse does not look happy."
Mm,
And it's so funny because in the we'll see those images from the Olympics of that win or whatever,
mhm,
and the rider is celebrating and the horse looks miserable. So you're right on track where when we're in the industry and we're so ingrained in it,
mhm.
we just don't see it
Yeah,
like other people see it.
right.
And that traditional training that we all learned at some point, because we all did. I came from a very traditional hunter jumper barn, and I think you did too. You know, we rely very heavily on compliance and
Yeah,
not so much connection. And
yeah,
I think for a lot of trainers too, it's a time crunch. Parents are dropping their kids off and they want their kids to learn how to ride. And so it's kind of like, okay, I have an hour to teach this kid everything that they need to know about horsemanship. And it gets lost along the way. It absolutely
yeah.
does.
I don't know who said this first, but move the feet to get to the mind.
Yes.
And I in a way, I'm like, "Okay, your horse is stuck in maybe freeze motion because they're a prey animal and they're afraid of something." Well, yeah, let's get those feet moving just so that they can, like, be in motion and think about something else. But there's also, I think, a lot of times when people take that to an extreme where what if we move the mind to get to the feet? You know, like, what if we change the mind, which is a little bit harder, and it does take a little bit more time, and maybe that's part of it, is that it takes to get the mind to relax and calm down, you're not able to just, like, wag a flag at the horse and make it move. Um, and and I think there's so much that goes into the mind body, um, not only when they are afraid or when they are in fight or flight, but also there are studies that show that like um the tissue after an injury, the tissue actually like holds a pain memory. So like the nervous system holds that memory even when the tissue is healed. There's still the nervous system and the neural pathways are sending signals of pain to that area. So the horse might have been healed for many months or years. It's still thinking that it has this injury, right?
Yes.
So its mind is like, it has been changed. That neural pathway has been changed.
Mhm.
And so we're like, well, he had the vet check and the vet check said it was fine. He's not lame. He's fine. But we need to come back into it going, well, what's happening is a trauma response in the body,
Yes.
and so maybe you can't move the body in the way that you want, but it's not because the body can't do it. It's because the mind has told the body it can't do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. They hold on to stuff, and so do we. And that's why I feel like that's why we can connect so well with them, is because we're so much alike.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just easier, not in the long run, I don't think, but easier in the short term to just push them through whatever is bothering them and not address it. Um, and I was just Josh Nickel. I was listening. He was on a podcast recently, and he was talking about, um, how horses do hold on to that tension, and how he works through that with his clients. And he said something that made me think of you. He was like, if you need a massage at the end of every week, you need to think less about what you're doing and more about how you're processing your week. And I
Mm,
was like, that is so good, because
mm,
because horses too. And how often do we stop and tell them, or and let them process? It's just one thing to the next, even when they
mhm,
get it right.
mhm.
And so there's just so much emotional tension that they hold
Yeah,
on to.
yeah.
There's never really a chance for them to process what they're doing or what we want. How do you see this emotional tension show up, in the body?
When you see a horse that is emotionally upset, the first thing I notice, like, their brachiocephalicus, their lower neck muscle is jam tight. So even if they're a little bit up, like they maybe some elk, this happens in one of the barns that I work at, but elk go through, and those horses are actually really, really used to it. But, maybe a new horse comes in and the huge herd of elk is going through as I'm trying to massage. And um, the first thing is like, what's that? I've never seen that before. I'm a little nervous right now. And the brachiocephalicus muscle just goes phoop,
Yeah.
because it's like, think I might need to propel myself forward. And then you have the hind end start to lock up. And so it kind of goes like, I think I'm going to need this right now. When that happens, everything then starts to just contract. The horse, like us humans, when we have a stressful day or a stressful moment in life, we go, right? But then our mind says it's okay, but at least for me, sometimes it's not till someone else goes like, "Hey, relax your shoulders." And
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, I didn't know I was doing that."
Yes.
So sometimes the horse is actually back down and relaxed, but I need to go in there and go like, "Hey, can you relax this? Because like, this happened maybe, like, 2 days ago in the trailer, but I still feel you going like this." And
Yeah.
they don't even know they're doing it. So, a lot of it is quiet energy, calm, like, just calm breathing, breath work again, and just light work as you're just encouraging the horse to think about their body a little bit, and the horse will just give, like, this deep sigh and
Oh,
relax. So, like us, when someone comes up to our shoulders and is like, "Hey, you seem pretty tight here." You're like, "Oh, I didn't know I was, but yeah,
yeah.
but I had a really stressful day at work 2 days ago, and I didn't realize that I was still holding this." So, yeah.
Yeah. They hold on to it. And it's really funny because that will show up behaviorally so often when a horse wants to push into you, especially with a specific body part. Like, they always want to shove their shoulder into you, or they want to swing their hips into you. They'll get reprimanded. And, you know, you're trying to knock into me, you're in my space, they're trying to kick me, and I'm like, well, no, that's also a spot where they're probably holding a lot of tension. And that's the only way they can communicate with you. Hey,
Mhm.
I'm holding on to this here. Let's try and do something about it. Um, and it so often gets ignored. It so often gets ignored, and we end up with horses that are a little bit more disconnected, I think, than we want them to be. Um,
Yeah, because I think that, if they are trying to communicate that, but it's getting either ignored or it's getting reprimanded, then they're learning that we're not listening.
right?
and then they're just gonna either stop trying or get more frustrated, and that's kinda where you get those behavior issues coming up, right? Like, they're like, "I am trying to tell you something, and you're not listening, so now I'm just mad." Like, now I'm just like, "Listen," you know?
They have
Um,
to get loud, and I always
yeah,
say, "They can get loud. Let them get loud, but you do not get loud. You
yeah,
stay the same."
yeah. I just posted a reel on Instagram. It was all kind of about that. It was like, when your horse is up, let your whisper be the loudest thing that it can hear. Um, and I felt that because lately, we have a new arena here and the wind comes in and it can get a little Cooper's just not quite used to it, so he can get a little like, "What's going on?" And when I was working with him the other day, I was just like, "My whisper needs to be louder than anything else that he hears right now or sees right now. Like, can my calmness, can my quietness be the loudest thing in the room?" And, um, and so, yeah, that's kind of what we're talking about is like, let them get loud,
Mhm.
stay calm. And that is so hard. And then that comes into like our mind and body connection, right? Cause like, then we get like, we stop breathing and
Yes.
then our heart rate accelerates and then our shoulders go up. And then the horse is like, why is she tense? And so,
Something's wrong.
right. But it's so hard too, because I think in all the training that we've had, it's almost like a reversal of what we've learned. And then you're like, "I thought I was a really good horsewoman. I thought I had the tools to deal with all of this, and maybe I do to get them to a point where, like, they're doing what I want, but are they really happy about it?"
Right?
You know? Um, and so there have been moments where it's like, "Oh, I wanna go back to what I know." Like, I wanna go back to being loud, being louder than they are. But that's not gonna help them in the long run, and that's certainly not gonna calm their mind, um, to help them calm their body.
Yeah. It's so true. There was one situation where I was watching someone lunge a horse and he didn't want to go track right. And he was very honest about it. And he stopped and he looked at her and she got after him right away, chasing him forward, pushing him forward. And he was very honest about saying, I'm uncomfortable this way.
Mhm.
And it was shot down immediately. So
Yeah.
it's so important to realize that their disobedience is very rarely disobedience. It's
Yeah.
usually them being like, hey, hang on a minute. And everything affects that from our body language to our own energy. And I'm into the whole energy thing. I know that you're into the whole energy thing. So,
Yeah.
what would be a few tips that you would give riders and owners to kind of become aware of their own energy? Because it does affect how our horses feel. It affects how they feel emotionally, mentally, how they feel in their
Mhm.
bodies. When you're around someone that's just like
Mhm.
miserable,
Yeah. You're like,
and you just
"The
feel
vibe is off." Yeah.
and they feel that energy doing even at one point, I was doing a nervous system regulation, which is mostly breathing,
Yeah.
session with a horse, and the
Yeah.
barn manager at the time, this was a while ago, came through, and she was like that, quite miserable, and his whole body, just like you just explained, just went, like, from relaxed to his head was up, his shoulders were tense, everything just became tight in the body, and I was like, "Woof." She should probably fix that. So, what would be your advice for people
Yeah.
actually working on their own energy?
Yeah. Um, I think it starts before you get to the barn. We all need to check in with ourselves and say, like, "Are we ready in this moment to go support our horse? If not, don't go. Your horse doesn't he's not your therapist. As much as they make us feel better, they we're there to support them too. So check in with yourself before you get in the car and be like, How am I right now? Am I in a state where I feel that I can be the best support for my horse during a session or even during a grooming?" And if you're not, um, for me, it's breath work that brings me into nervous system regulation. It helps my entire way of thinking change. It relaxes my body. So if you have never done breath work before, even just like a quick YouTube breath work session, just do it for a little bit or listen to some music, something that's going to help you regulate yourself. Now, if you get to the barn, you feel like you're in a good spot. You're like, okay, or you didn't realize before you got there that actually like I'm kind of in a crummy mood. Um I think there's a lot you can do at the barn that's not quite working hands on with the horse yet. So you could go in to the stall or go stay outside of the stall. I like to check this is another part of energy work, but checking in with your feet into the earth, like
Yes.
making sure that you can feel that you're grounded. So like you move your toes a little bit and you just feel that connection even though we have shoes on and there's cement or whatever, but just feel that connection to the ground. Um so that you're focusing on something other than what we always focus on, which is like the things in our world that are coming at us, right? The ground doesn't move, the ground doesn't change. Focus on something that is like stabilizing you. So just think about your toes touching the earth, you know? And then e- perfect thing to do is outside the stall, just focus on your breathing for a few moments. Focus on like there's one other person I really look up to. She's all about mindfulness through being grateful. So she'll just take a couple of moments and like think of 10 things she's grateful for before she goes into the stall. It doesn't have to be about horses, it can be about anything, but anything to reset your mind. And the other thing I really like to do is check in with my body. Like, okay, so how are my shoulders feeling right now? How is my neck feeling right now? All the things within us that get tight when we're not doing so well, they're going to get tight in your horse when you're working on him or working with him or working on him or her. So, checking in with yourself is like the most important thing you can do w- before you work on your horse.
Yeah. So true. And I think we talked about this a little bit, but especially with, equine bodywork online and learning through that and learning how to touch my horse more intentionally, I think that it just comes naturally because it's slow and it's methodical and it's breathing
Yeah.
and it's paying attention to how you're touching and where you're touching them. And it just makes such a huge difference. And I mean, it's told me, and I'm sure other people too, so much about where their horses actually want to be touched because they will let you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had horses who are kind of like, "No, not there, here," and they'll, like, move in the cross
Absolutely.
eyes.
Yeah.
I feel
Absolutely.
like mares are, like, notorious for that. They'll be
Yeah.
like, "Don't touch me right there, it's this shoulder."
Yeah. They'll tell you for sure. In fact, Cooper, my personal horse, he loves his glutes being worked on, and so he will like swing towards a person, and they think they're about to get kicked, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "I'm sorry. This is just he would like you to rub his glutes."
That's the
And
best.
so and there is this, like, dynamic to it too. It's like, "Oh, I should," and this is where I struggle. It's like, I should teach him not to do that because another horse person's gonna come in here and he's gonna do that to them, and he's gonna get in big trouble because they
Yes.
think he's swinging at them or,
Mhm.
he's about to come at them with his hind legs. That's not is all his intention. I know it. Everyone who knows him knows it. Everybody knows all he wants is a rub on the glutes, but, um, that's where, we go back to a little bit of what we were talking about before. I think in the horse world, we're in this really interesting phase
Yes.
where a lot of folks are changing their training methods, but a lot of folks are also still using what has worked for them. And the horses, can get a little bit confused about what is appropriate, what's not, what one person will listen and one person won't. So it's just yeah, our horses are in an interesting time in life in the world right now.
They are, and for a lot of trainers too, especially trainers who take on horses that aren't theirs or who train to sell, we are preparing horses to exist in this human world in the best way possible. And so sometimes it's really hard to let them express themselves freely and in any way they want because we're like, oh, we understand what that is. Like Cooper with his glutes,
Right.
we get that, but someone else might not get that. And you might find yourself reprimanded and in trouble.
Right.
So yeah, it is a really between a rock and a hard place for the horses a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of change. I feel like there's a lot of change happening.
Yeah.
Horses after lessons who like to rub their face, they have an itchy face or they have tightness, in their poll or in their mouth just from having a bit and from teaching people and they want to rub their head all over you. And I'm like, well, that's fine because it's me, but you can't do it to this little 6-year-old. So we have to, because, she'll go
Right.
flying. So we
Yeah,
have to set some boundaries there. It's like, I'm listening, but you have to, it's like finding the perfect combination of listening, but setting a boundary. It's very interesting.
it's
Um,
hard.
it really is. So
Yeah.
I feel like the industry is shifting. Why do you think that this conversation in particular is so important to have right now?
I think that it's always important to have. I think that this conversation we should have with ourselves and with each other on a continual basis because I think that it's easy in the moment to forget that the
Oh,
mind body is connected. It's easy in the moment to get up when your horse is up. It's easy in the moment to not seek the right questions to even get the right answers, right? So it's easy for us to say like, "Oh, he's just being stubborn. He's just being this and that." Um, and I think a lot of times people see that their horse is healed or they've had the saddle fit checked or they've had the body work done and they've had the vet say it's fine, he's good to go, and the horse is still upset. And so then upset in something that we're asking. So then it automatically people say it's a training issue now. Now the horse is being this, that, and that, and it's a negative. And where I feel like there's gray area is that it's that there maybe was an issue and it's fine now, but it's not fine in the horse's mind. It's not fine in the horse's nervous system. And that won't be found in a vet check.
yes.
So, um, to be fair to our equine partners, we have to start asking the right questions to get the right answers. And so I think for us, it's just really important to continually step back and say, okay, what is happening here outside of the body? What could be going on in the mind?
Yeah. Personally, I do feel like the future of horsemanship is driven by empathy. I really do. And I think we're so close to getting there, but it's like you said, it's easier to fall back into what worked before
Yeah.
instead of working through it mentally because we can see them physically, but we can't see what's happening mentally unless we pay super close attention to what's showing up in their bodies and their behavior. And so,
Yeah, and for us, it's like learning a new language too,
yeah.
because some of us have been training since being, little girls or little boys, and it is so ingrained in us. It's our first language. We
Yeah.
don't have to think about it. Just send him forward. Don't let him do that. Don't let him do. He's being stubborn.
Mhm.
Um, and so to go and change that within ourselves takes a lot of work, and it's hard. And sometimes you want to go back. It's kind of
Yeah.
like so my husband is French, and a lot of times we speak Franglish, because it's easier for me. My French isn't great, so it's easier for me to throw English words in there,
Mhm.
um, and sometimes he'll wanna throw French words in there, and so I think that during this transition time, like, a lot of us humans are speaking Franglish in the way that we work with our horses,
Yeah.
because we're not quite there yet. I mean, everybody should work with an equine behaviorist, I think, or, like, work with, people like coaches that have that empathy and that can help guide you to the right answers. Um, but they're not always going to be there every time we work with our horse. And so sometimes we just get a little bit confused in the moment of like, what do I do? Because everything within me tells me that I shouldn't let the horse do this or that because that's what I've been trained. But then there's this other little whisper saying, but he's talking to you. Like
Yes.
he's telling you something. Listen to him.
Yeah.
And then how do you listen to him? Right. So um yeah, we're all I really truly believe we're all doing the best that we can. So this is not like a call out to anyone who hasn't like gone down this journey
Exactly.
at all,
100%.
but I think that it's like that Maya Angelou quote, like, "Do the best you can with what you know, and then when you know more, do better." Or, like, I probably butchered that, but something like that.
Something like that. Something similar. And so that actually made me think of a reel that you did. Not well, I don't know how old it was, but I saw it not that long ago, where you are working on a horse and he is exhibiting behaviors that some people might find undesirable. Not me in particular, because that stuff doesn't bother me, but he's kind of like pushing into your space and he is playing like with your leg and with your boot.
Mhm.
Um, and that made me think of how body work is such a good place to start for understanding the mind body connection, because what
Mhm.
is going on in his body, he's releasing in his mind, and you can see it. It's like a full circle because it comes right back out physically.
Mhm.
So, to wrap this up, for listeners who are new to this idea, because a lot of people they're just like, oh, wait a minute, I can do more. I can go deeper. I can figure out what my horse wants from me. Where do you think is a good place for them to start?
For me, it's just what you said, body work. I think if I had not become a body worker, I probably would not have been led down this path of like, "Oh, let's listen to them a little bit more." Um, just like you said, it is a complete conversation with you and your horse through your hands and their body. So, it not only changes how you understand your horse's body, but it changes how they understand that you're listening to their body. So it really has changed the relationship between many horses and owners. Um, Equine Bodywork Online has. Once you start understanding that you can help them and they start understanding that you will help them, um, I really feel like everything changes. And then your whole mindset kind of changes on like, oh, well, I felt tension in my horse when I was working on the back audio guide,
Yeah.
but now I'm riding my horse really doesn't want to go forward. Is this a connection here? Versus just kick him into it and get him forward. And so I think that if people are like, where do I start? Because I'm not really sure. Like, I want to go down this path or I want to understand more of what my horse is going through in their mind and their body. Honestly, learning how to do some body work, you don't have to go to a fancy school. If you don't want to become a professional body worker, that's fine. But learning to do some um, will absolutely change how you and your horse interact with each other and how you can listen to them and they can listen to you.
Yeah. And it's so much easier than you think. I remember saying to a client at one point, why don't you try some body work? Why don't you can, and I obviously sent the program, but I was like, you can invest in this or don't, maybe look on YouTube, whatever. And she just immediately was like, well, I don't want to get it wrong. And I'm like, you can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
are techniques that you can't get wrong.
Yeah.
And so don't be overwhelmed by it because it really is the best place to start. I agree.
Yeah. And I appreciate that she doesn't wanna get it wrong because she doesn't wanna
Yeah,
hurt the horse, and I
exactly. Yeah.
totally get that, and that's great, and there are some techniques where you do need to have education in order to do them. What we did with Equine Bodywork Online, everything we teach is light touch, safe. You you can't get it wrong if you're following the audio guides, you just can't. So, um, you won't hurt your horse.
Yeah. That's what's great
Cool.
about it. So
Yeah.
good.
Cool. Well, does
Covered
that
it.
wrap up mind, body?
I mean, it does. It
All
does.
right.
Covered it.
Well, uh, this has been In the Tack Room with Kara and Chelsea. If you have any questions about anything horse related, make sure to comment below and we will see you in the next In the Tack Room episode.